Morning, Lionel. How are you? It's Matt Coleman here, everyone, from Magnify World. We're doing our video series about technologies around augmented reality and virtual reality. And we're joined today from Singapore to Lionel Chok, who's the founder of iMMERSiVELY. It's evening in Los Angeles here at the moment, so we're talking to a real global audience. How are you?
Hi, Matt. It's hard to believe that you're evening over there because your background looks really bright. It's like midday, actually. And our day is just starting out.
That's right, yeah. Beginning of summer, of course. So the sun always shines here, hopefully. So that's
nice.
the main reason we all live here, I think.
Okay.
But it is a hub for virtual reality and augmented reality and mixed reality, California now. We've got Silicon Beach,
Nice.
Silicon Valley.
Yep.
And that's where our offices are in Playa Vista here.
Yep.
And I'd like to, if you'd introduce yourself and tell
Sure.
about your company, but also tell us about the local economics of the mixed reality business in your region of the world, please.
Sure. So I'm Lionel, and basically I come with a kind of like a mixed career background. I spent almost 20 years in the media and production industry. So I finished my economics degree and then went into a challenge by one of my friends to go like, you should try something different for a short stint. So on a whim and taking up the challenge, I went to join the TV station and thought I would just spend maybe 1 to 3 months there. I spent 20 years in the media industry. So I really left an economics and business kind of a formal education schooling in plunging myself into the creative side of stuff, which is something I look back now and be very thankful for. Along the way, having juggled many different portfolios and I really had the chance to be looking at the tech side of things in the sort of last salary position by joining at the time what would be Singapore's version of a Netflix. So we're building up our own VOD online portal. And as one of the pioneering staff, I found myself sitting among engineers, looking at back-end servers, UX, UI, understanding how the infrastructure is built up, and that really intrigued me. So I decided to find out more, and that led me to taking on a postgrad and completely swinging me into tech, or what is maybe a lot of people would have known now as like media technologies. And this was back in 2014, 2015. And since then, I finished the postgrad specializing in AR, VR, put up all my portfolios online, and then basically got people contacting me to say, hey, can you come and consult for us? With this project on AR or VR. So 3 months in, I actually found myself having, to issue invoices as an individual, and they go like, you need to set up a company for this. This kind of how iMMERSiVELY started, really when the work has really happened and there was no corporate entity to invoice, and that's how, the corporate side of things took over. And then I haven't looked back. So since then, we have been embarking a lot about using the technologies for a wide spectrum of industries, from corporates to retail to storytelling, back to kind of my old roots of the media as well. And it's really encouraging to see that there's no stopping where the technology is going. I'm hearing every day now a lot of creative professionals are really looking into this because of the experiential factor, how to enhance their traditional story and looking beyond books to the experience, using that bodily experience to tell your stories and use as a different extension. The best thing about where we're going today, even with the current COVID situation, is that a lot of companies and individuals are looking at tech, exploring it because they know they not only can't avoid it, but they are really interested to see how we can help them, with the current challenges about operating business forward with technology, getting your portfolio out there as an individual, and so on.
Fantastic. And I know, so you've spent some time in New York, as you were saying.
Yes.
What was on offer there that you couldn't get in Singapore? And does the Singapore government provide grants for companies in this space, like they do in Australia and Canada and New Zealand and England?
Yeah.
They spend a lot of money, right, with the startups.
Yeah.
Are you a beneficiary? Can you be a beneficiary? Is it easy to get into this space?
Well, there are a lot of local institutions providing, training in this space. In fact, there are a lot of local institutions providing training across all industries. And like for me, I'm going to be mentoring a group of professionals next month, a newly released diploma in AR, VR as well. But where I come from, I really believe that education is not just the formalized training of the academia, a large part of what I'm learning from is also from the people that you are in, like your class, and also the environment you're in. So it's kind of like in me to always want to head out somewhere and to learn not just from the institution, but also the place. So I actually done this. I worked like, a year and spent all that money into going out overseas for either short courses or short stints. Since my early days, I've gone to NIDA, National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Australia, and studied theatre directing. I even did a stint on acting, theatre design. I staged about 6 plays. I gone for a number of short film courses. The most distant place I actually found myself enrolling in is in Maine, in Portland. I went 26-hour flight all the way there because there was a workshop there that teaches film directing. I found myself very handicapped by the economics degree and not having like a formal education. Right. So I kept going for such courses and thinking that I'm going to empower myself, not realizing that being in the industry itself is already a learning when you are mixed with a lot of the industry professionals. Yeah. So when I took that path, I realized that they complement each other quite well. I have the workshops that acts as a brick away and learning from the participants that were also as part of the course, but coming back to industry and learning from the other colleagues as well.
And tell me some of the projects you've been working on personally, with the company. What are some of the highlights that you've enjoyed? And I'm just looking behind you. You've got lots of VR headsets. But is that a backpack?
Yeah, that's a haptic suit.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So when you wear the VR, the suit will vibrate according to how you program it. If it's a game, then you'll be short. But there's been many corporate use case as well. One of the suits actually function because of the haptic. You can program it to give you feedback according to the direction and the space that you need to turn as well. So I think that's one of the things about technology is that there's more than one use case. Although, like for example, gaming is really getting a lot of traction and user base. But we also witnessed that, for example, people that have gone for VR gaming suddenly start to connect the dots and go like, what if I use this for my lectures? What if I use this in my medical area? So as they embark on the creative and leisure weekend stint in VR gaming, when they go back to work, they start connecting the dots and they think whatever experiential, session that I spent over the weekend in the game can be completely applied to my medical side, my education side. And that's the great thing about the different industries that can actually transcend through using AR, VR, for example.
What would you say was the most exciting project that you took on?
Yes. Of course, there's many, but we are really proud of the fact that we have actually put together a proposal presented to the National Arts Council here in Singapore. And last year, we actually staged a AR, VR, MR sort of arts festival for youth from 18 to 35. And we staged it at a place in town for 10 days, and it featured 17 original works. So this was an open invitation. Artists came to apply. We did a short listing and interview. And then we had mentors that came in and mentored over these 17 artists and helped them to develop their artistic creations in AR, VR, MR, and even projection mapping, for example. And then we helped them to stage it at the public venue for the public to come and experience. It was really bizarre. One artist had a monitor, the big one, the old kind, not the flat monitor. He took out all the parts there and he put in a VR headset inside. Yeah, so basically to address the fact that a lot of times we are lost in the content, but people are outside of us observing how we look. There's another girl that had a AR experience that when you look into it, your face will start aging. You can see, all the wrinkles and all that came out. It's augmenting your face. So there were a lot of different artistic expressions and takeaways from that, and we're really happy and proud to have been one of the, I guess, the only company to have staged that in Singapore.
And is some of that content available for the viewers to check out on your Facebook page or that particular project? Or
we do have pictures of it on our website, yeah, but the content belongs to the artists. So they would have individually posted it on their own Facebook page and the social media. Yeah. We provided a platform for them to get started.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Excellent. Okay. Yeah. And last time I talked to you, you were heading off to a business meeting with some senior management at a hospital.
So great that you touched on this, because we found that over the years, there's really a keen interest in understanding and using the current technologies for different digital twin and digital empowerment. What I mean is they have come to realize that, for example, I go into my hospital and there's this $1 million machine that we have bought for use. But at the same time, I need to train my housemen with the machine as well, so that they can get the hands-on training and the experience. And then basically the realization comes, I can't buy another machine just to train them. They have to use the same machine. And how is that going to work? Because the machine is already booked, like, day in and out with the actual cases. So you just imagine the industry as a whole having this kind of problems, where it's not just a medical machine, but it's also a construction machine, building machine, and so on and so forth. So one thing that I've been really seeing an uptake on is for us to digitally twin the machine, so that you're able to put on a headset and see the machine in front of you, and then learn to operate it. This is one of, I think, the best use case in terms of where VR, for example, has been realized, because people are able to understand that I can then take the VR to the office space and start introducing people to train in that. Or in cases we've also experienced using that to mitigate all the safety factors first, so that by the time they go to the machine, they will really be very in sync with what to look out for. One of the things that we have experienced, from the old corporates, is that they used to use this kind of training via the desktop and mouse method. But if you think about it, right, if I'm putting out a fire and I'm sitting at my desk using a keyboard and I'm pressing the mouse to touch it, it's just a no-brainer. It's like, how did we ever live through a period of time where all this very behavioral training, muscle memory training is done via this way for such a long time that it wouldn't work. So when the company started to understand that VR enables you to stand up in the position you're supposed to be working in the posture, holding what you're supposed to be holding, they realized that that is gold. The muscle memory of the trainee using this stuff in digital training, and putting through the hours, right? So it's not just a one-off. You can keep going through the cycles or develop a module or content, or even tracking, which we have done for one client, with the analytics of what their position is and all that. So you're able to follow through and really get them going into what they're supposed to do. This is one of the big core elements, I think, when it comes to governments and companies understanding productivity. The new hire that come in, I want them to be out in the ground, not just for the safety factor. They must learn to work safely, but for them to actually get up to speed with what they need to do in the shortest amount of time that we feel confident about. Traditionally, they would have to be accompanied to an existing experienced staff, and that process could be quite tedious. And you will never know, because they're not put out into the field for you to witness. But in VR, because there's an accompanying monitor where you can see for yourself whether this person has been performing up to the level that he needs to, it's very clear for the employer to say, wow, he's ready, And that's something I think we are seeing a lot of interest in, and very powerfully taking place in a lot of industries as well.
In the US, there's some companies doing sport training in VR headsets, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
I'm sure their business is booming at the moment, because they haven't been able to get on the field, right? due to the virus, of course. So I was also talking to another company in England that's around £10 million on a haptic body suit.
Yep.
And they had someone tackling someone in one area, and then he was feeling the effects in another city.
Yep.
It's definitely a new world, and all these new applications, of course, are going to be potentially powered by 5G. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. I think one thing about 5G is that the use case and the number of upcoming applications for it just seems to be building up. Because of latency and speed, we want to be ensuring that the content that we have in, for example, AR and VR keeps increasing, but at the same time, we also know that might slow down with the speed and the bandwidth. And so with 5G, we are more confident in the fact that we can keep building something that's more photorealistic, enabling the user to be really immersed in almost like an alternate reality, in a good way, controlled and curated, and that's delivered to you without any lag, for example. And the applications on a mobile is also the same way. We're able to think about more possibilities given the fact that we could be using, for example, AR with 5G. So I think the really good thing that come out of COVID, as I share, is that a lot of people have now embraced technology and they're looking into it as more than ever before because of the new way of operations that they need to look into. And because of that, they get to be a little bit more open to technology when they might used to shun it. And the fact is that everybody is now understanding that the online digital footprint is more important than ever. So with some of these things, they started to explore what, for example, conferences in online, conferences in VR, retail in AR, having your product in front of you through a mobile. They're starting to really see that happening and becoming the new digital platform that they need to have.
And also, you're a filmmaker, of course, as we discussed, and you've studied that and obviously done that in VR as well.
Yes.
I was going to ask you to give some comments about the new virtual production. Well, it's not Hollywood Studios,
Yes.
probably call it brand new, but the Mandalorian style of gaming engine technology and creating digital perfect imagery, so you don't have to build sets.
Yeah.
Save the movie industry billions, right? If they get that one right.
Yeah.
How do you see gaming engines now, like the Unreal and Unity and everyone else? Is there a preference for you with your stories in VR? And how do you see that with the movie business moving forward?
Well, I think with the major studios and their finances to empower virtual productions, for example, that's something that really works well for them, because what they can now do in a studio, they would otherwise have to do by moving a huge amount of people to an exotic location just to get the backdrop. So I would say that the current virtual productions is an all-in-one solution to end, all kind of location shooting. But when you have scenes of two people in a car, they don't really necessarily want to fly like the whole crew to Sahara just to get the kind of background. So it's not really a new revolution in the way that stories are going to be told, but I think the way that it's going to be exploited is the fact that you can now easily create very sophisticated sci-fi backgrounds, so that you're able to immerse your viewers and your audiences in a more effective way by having it isolated in the studio and controlling the factors from there. But having said that, I think it still comes down to the essentials of what the story is about. For every sci-fi backdrop there's of course many other compelling stories in the modern times that set against, your living room and the traditional house and all that. So we're looking at those kinds of ways in coming to using VR, for example, to experience stories. And one of the other flip sides of virtual production is the volumetric capture of actors, where you can actually put on a headset and potentially walk around your characters to really and bodily feel their stories, not just from a passive audience point of view, sitting on a seat and looking at a flat screen. I think this is something in the storytelling side of things that will become more and more prevalent, that you enter a room, which is now your cinema, and you're walking along the stories and understanding and really listening into how conversations are being told to the characters. And in time to come, even having that kind of chance of interacting with them, turning and going out to the door using a controller will signify your move into the room for another story to unfold. I think that's something to really look forward to, whereby the experience of you being an audience is no longer passive anymore.
Maybe Disney or one of the theme park operators could create a virtual world, of course. If life goes on as usual, that's another idea. But, augmented reality through holding up your phone or an iPad. I know, is most of your work in the headset, or, that's one of your specialties, right? But have you done an AR activation, many of those?
Interestingly, before COVID, there was a lot of interest in the VR headsets because, for example, even property walkthroughs, you put a headset on your customer, they're able to view a property. It's far more immersive than, for example, a 360 on a browser. So we have a fair share of those. And even earlier this year and late last year, we have been delivering digital twin and headsets for customers as well. But I think with COVID, a lot of the explorations have gone into like mobile. Everybody has a mobile, sometimes more than one or two, and the desktop. So there's a lot of explorations into like, what can I do with the desktop? Can I attend an event in the desktop? Can it be more than just Zoom? So there's been an interest in exploring virtualizations without the headset. When we make the transition to, for example, immerse them in a browser-based virtual world, I think that's the bridge for us to later introduce, like the headset can also come in, post-COVID, to say, now you have the virtual exploration in a browser. Then let's move from that to a headset where you can then explore, your virtual world with the headset. I think the wearable side of things still makes it as a very compelling factor. It's almost like telling you, hey, Matt, let's go into cinema and watch a movie. So immediately and subconsciously, you know that you have to spend 2 hours with me, maybe in a good way, right? You'll be in a dark room willingly, voluntarily. Some of these things are subliminal when you say go into cinema, watch a movie. So it's kind of like that when you wear a headset, you are sort of like stepping into stepping into a virtual world, and that action and the very focused attention of wearing that something puts you in the kind of mindset to enter and this virtual world. I think that in many ways that's a good thing, and of course with the controls that is now, for example, even enabling finger tracking. Technology will just become better and better. That in time to come, it's very light, it's very cost effective, and probably everybody will start to be accustomed to using it. Web AR, for example, is what we've been doing of late. People are using AR to deploy through a web browser, so no more apps to download from the store. So there's also a huge uptake and increase of that as well. And we're doing a couple of current campaigns with a web AR.
And is that for advertising purposes? Is that a brand that you can talk about? Or
and having web AR augment, for example, artifacts that you don't really have access to because it's a restricted viewership, visitorship into the museum. But more importantly, I think they are also very accustomed and seeing the Google Animals 3D campaign that was launched earlier this year. How much fun is it for kids to augment, like animals on your palm, a tiger in your room? And the follow-up effect with that is that they are able to then see like the facts that comes with the animal, right? So it's a accompanied learning by first enticing the curiosity, then the learning kind of a thing. So it's really a great way to look at how we can exploit this for the other industries, how we can augment, like for example, a designer so far, knowing full well that you probably not going to go out there deliberately to look for one, but if it's in AR, it's in the comfort of your own living room, let me just show it. Then you realize that, hey, there are other alternatives that makes it affordable. And, one of these retailers have deployed this as a campaign and they're selling it for like 400. And that's a bridge that they can cross to reach out to potential customers who always have never imagined that it would be 400. In their mind, it might be 4,000. And without that first try, they might never even explore to look for other options. So I think that's one good thing that has come out of COVID in the sense that web AR and the company information through a mobile is able to touch on more people currently.
Yeah, and it's barely a new release tech, isn't it? Really, in the last probably 18 months, to web AR. But look, I just had one question going back to the museum experience. Are you using QR codes that trigger the AR web from a mobile device while they're walking around the museum? Is that how?
No. Yeah. So
what the user journey is?
Yeah. Due to COVID right now, because each of us have to scan a QR to register our particulars for contact tracing. So we're so used to QRs right now. Yeah. So what they're currently doing is to have QRs on, for example, a campaign website or a microsite that tells you about what the artifact is about. And then you can either press on the link or you can scan the QR so that you can deploy the AR through your mobile device and augment it in your space. So the idea is that the campaign is really conceptualized for you to experience the museum outside of the museum. Because of the fact that currently the museum is only accepting a limited number of people. It's not like they can open the doors and pack people in. But at the same time, they don't want to, let that be restrictive because they don't want to turn people away and maybe introduce them to a museum at home kind of an experience. And hopefully when they have done that, then people will be interested to come back after the first taste to say, let's schedule another day where the museums are less packed and then we can go and explore. So I think most importantly, they understand that doing nothing is not the solution. They need to find a way to engage them, and more than ever right now, digitally in some form or another. They get usually lost in too many web-based info where you have photos, videos, and text, because that's what everybody else is doing. So how do we make it more experiential is basically what they have arrived at for us to deploy this.
Oh, excellent. And I know we're coming to near the end, but I also wanted to get this in. Smart glasses, kind of a good segue into the future now. I'm really excited about smart glasses. I hope that the acceleration, really kicks in the next 2 years instead of 5. Apple has made some bold moves this year.
Yes.
They're always sitting on the side. They didn't get into virtual reality, but they're heavily into augmented reality, of course. The Snapchats of the world tested their Snap glasses, out there, which was, more of a gimmick or promotional tool. It didn't really take off. But, there's a lot of companies now focused on smart glasses and
wearables,
and wearables, as you said. Give us a couple of user cases that you're excited about in the future and how you see that rolling out, from the VR headset to a smart glass, of, how that's going to be seen, from a consumer standpoint, but also from a business standpoint.
Well, I mean, technically speaking, the smart glasses sort of MR kind of a technology today is monopolized by, the HoloLens, for example, that does it so well because they're one of the early leaders into the game. But that said, it's still very expensive and very limited in supply. No doubt it's very, very good.
$1,000, isn't it? Or a few things, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best bang for your buck because it does a lot of things. But, for other use case, we want to actually strip it out and go like, let me only use this one function and leave the rest behind and pay for this one function, which you can't. So I think the one thing that smart glasses is moving towards is actually to look at what you essentially need for what you need without the whole package of the cost involved. And one of the use cases, for example, this has also come into our radar as well. So warehouse and logistics require the operators and delivery to come into their huge warehouse, identify where the item is and pick it up. So right now they go by traditional signposts, which is very challenging because in some warehouses, the items are delivered and packed, not in specific shelves, but just put wherever it is. So they need to find a way that is more robust for the collectors to come and find them. They're not going to spend, a huge amount of money on HoloLens for everybody for them to do this. And really the process of using it is wear it, see it, pick it, put it back. So the glasses help to mitigate that because it is light. It does one function very, very well. Identify where to go in terms of, locating the object, augmenting the owl number and even the arrows to lead you there through the glasses. And once you're done, then put it back, kind of a thing, right? I mean, of course, there's protocol to how to issue the glasses and how to collect back. Those things are just operations. But imagine the efficiency and the productivity generated by these guys, because for some of them, they're paid by the number of items delivered. And for the warehousing, the more items they move, the better for them. So I think this is one use case whereby the glasses would really come to effect. And it's again, an enterprise and corporate space, which we are very bullish about because once it has gone that way, any one of these operators would then realize, hey, I can use this for education. Maybe my students will be able to. So that's how we are very hopeful and we're very positive, the fact that you will then springboard from one use case to many more to come.
Fantastic. And look, great to meet you again today.
Oh, man, I can talk for days.
Yeah. Can you let our listeners know where they find you on the internet as well?
Sure. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. You can connect with me or drop me a message. I also personally attend to our iMMERSiVELY Facebook page. You can also check that out. But otherwise, happy to just drop me an email. I'm at email@immersively.co.
Fantastic, Lionel. Look, appreciate your time today and your insights into
Thanks,
exciting industries
Anytime.
that we're into in the next 5 years. It's going to be great to see where it goes. So you have a good morning and I'll sign off. Good night. Thank you very much.